Hello, my name is Misha Zubrev, and I'm here with Ivo on ADC Live. And today we have a very special episode, driving culture and bringing cross-functional engagement with Paul Kolenda. We'll introduce Paul in just in a few minutes, but first we want to get through our agenda items.
Just one thing. Welcome to everybody who is watching this live now, and also to the people who are watching the replay. Thank you.
And so the first thing, yes, I definitely thank you guys who those are coming back. 100% thank you so much for acknowledging that. For anybody who's new to watch the episode. So first of all, we really want to emphasize, and Ivo, keep me honest, but feedback really does matter, because so far we're really constructing these episodes based on what we feel our past users have expressed interest in, what our customers find interested in, right? But so it also matters really, what do you think? What future episodes would you like? What future topics would you like? And there's really a slew of topics that we can present. So please come and please vote on the topics. You can vote on the Hive. So if you're a LumApps user, you'll be able to have access to the Hive. If you're in LumApps, you know what the Hive is, I hope. If you don't, ask us or contact your CSM. But on the Hive, you can come to our partner space. And here you will be able to come on the ADC space and click on take the ADC Live survey, and it's very simple. You go here and you can fill out, was this episode useful? What was your favorite, least favorite thing? Will you come in again? What would you like to see in the future? This will really help us. And there's a whole slew of episodes that we want to present and we want to do. For example, maybe something about metadata integration, integrating metadata into your with your APIs, or with knowledge management, or micro apps, or data lake, another data lake deep dive, or really anything else, right? So we really want to make sure we cater it to you. As you'll see in our future episodes, we have a few things lined up which we feel you'll be very interested in regarding architecture and data. But definitely let us know what you'd like to see as well, and perhaps you might even want to participate, like Paul and some of our previous participants. So who are we? ADC. We are a LumApps partner. We're a LumApps tech partner. We've been with LumApps 8 years and 5 as partners, and ex-Lumies. We know the product inside and out, from the tech side, from the strategy side, from the integration side, analytics, data side, experience side, and really here to help you to make your LumApps experience better, simpler, and more efficient. Now, what is LumApps, you might ask? Let me just do a quick transition. What is LumApps? For those of you who haven't heard of LumApps, or you don't know what LumApps is, LumApps is a future. It's an intranet and employee experience platform, which really helps you centralize all the knowledge, all the news, helps the communications team to kind of proliferate news to the entire company, have a single culture, have a unified experience, and it makes things really easy for the employee base to connect. Paul's here, obviously, is going to talk a little bit about driving culture within LumApps for cross-functioning to different teams, different lines of business. But really, it's a tool that brings and centralizes everything into one place, and as well as extends capabilities, extends products, extends services. We as LumApps and also as ADC, we produce a lot of extensions in the marketplace. Ivo has done a ton of work here. We have over 30 extensions. You can find the list of our extensions on the ADC docs.adc.dev, and the list of all of our extensions are here. You can simply click through, search all extensions, and you can search for or click on anything and see what you're interested in. Something you might be interested in, it's probably already there. If it's not, let us know. We're happy to build it for you.
But what about this episode? Where do we begin? Okay, I see that. We begin with the pro tip of the week, right? So, sure, I think that one is about is about me. So, well, what I wanted to tell you today about LumApps is that actually LumApps, you already know this, can be connected via microapps to any kind of resource. that is great because it's very easy to build your own microapp and to publish it to your LumApps digital workplace. But here, what we wanted to experiment was to connect LumApps MicroApp to something that is very, very trendy these days, the model context protocol. So if you have been playing with artificial intelligence, you know that you can inject knowledge, context into your AI agents using this protocol. And so over the internet today, you have plenty, like thousands of new MCPs that are being published every month. So what we tried to do this month has been to create a new MCP. And how did we do that? Well, let me present you that. In this case, we have a LumApps MicroApp that is actually connected to the LumApps data lake. And so in this case, we can ask questions, for example, about what are the available data sets in the LumApps data lake. And a matter of seconds, hopefully, it will answer. So it's going to take a while because here we have an architecture diagram that looks like this. So in this case, we have LumApps that is connected to LLM, and this is connected to a model context protocol, and it is connected to the LumApps data lake. So this is why it takes a while. However, after a while, we get the answer. And this is completed by an artificial intelligence agent. Let's dig a bit more, because just knowing the structure of the data lake, that is just a documentation page that is available everywhere. But for example, which user has been, not this one, which user has contributed the most, which content, yes, of course, this one had the most views last week. So let's wait a while and let's see what it does answer. So this is leveraging directly the data inside the data lake. That is quite different compared to just reading the LumApps documentation. And so after a while that it has spent querying the LumApps data lake, the data inside our LumApps data lake, it comes back with this kind of reply. And so it gives us an information about the content. In this case, that's just the content ID. But however, that might be even more. So it could be giving us, for example, the most active users on the internet. This will be the last example, and because it's going to take long otherwise. And it's so to conclude about this experience, here we have the possibility to leverage the LumApps data lake, supply this kind of answer only to the people who has the right to view this LumApps page. And so, well, it's directly integrated into LumApps. It has a textual form. You can ask questions and you can get answers. And very soon we will also be able to connect that directly to the search bar in LumApps. So this is just another Ask AI data source. So that's all for this portion. But Misha, I'm curious. What are you excited about for the next few days?
Well, first of all, I'm excited about this, Ivo. This, what you just showed, I think is very exciting. Especially, my question was about personalization, and you said that the folks who are searching for those type of KPIs, that's essentially there's going to be some kind of access control, presumably, right? That it's not just everybody can search, but it's only folks who have access to it that they can see that type of engagement data, right?
Yeah, that's it. In fact, on both LumApps content and on a Ask AI data source, you can set up an access control list. So who will be available, who will be able to see those results. And so that's a great strength about Ask AI and LumApps in general.
It's very, very interesting. And obviously, because it's AI, you can, the more robust it becomes, I mean, you can obviously, the more data sources you bring into it, it can give you tables and possibly even like exports, and directly you can kind of get directly through that model. I know before we discussed also building agents AI using with SKI. I believe that was one of our previous episodes as well. So all that combined seems like it's a pretty powerful experience. So what we're excited about, so besides that was a very exciting thing. I'm also excited about something related to trivia. So now you can actually do trivia surveys out of the box directly in LumApps using the ADC Advanced Survey extension. And it's a really nice experience because you can build multi-question experiences where you can ask folks about questions related to, or even get their asking questions about learning, asking questions about participation, just like we are here doing with ADC Live. You can ask some questions about what would you like, what venues or experiences, or let's say for example, would you like to do X venue? Did you like this venue? Yes or no? Or what do you think is a better venue to do? Or even just test them, right? It's really curious about testing their knowledge about something. For example, you're demoing something to a whole team of people, and you want to ask them about to test how well they're participating. So that really helps. So we have this new ability to do that in LumApps using the ADC Advanced Survey widget, and I can actually show that to you while we're here, how that experience looks like. So if we go to the ADC, one second, we have multiple screens here. Okay, here. So if we go here, so we have a learning and development kind of space we build where we just create and acknowledge people and as part of our demo. And so here, this is our survey widget that has the new trivia type question. You can add, I have 3 questions here. That's typical. You can have 1, you can have 2, you can have 4 or 5. You can have them listed vertically, or you can have it 1 question at a time, which is how this is set right now. So here you can kind of go through these, and I put these questions in. What does the acronym ADDIE stand for? Instructional design. So you can choose, those of you who are pros, instructional design you might know. I'm just going to go ahead and choose this first answer. Here, which learning theory emphasizes learning through observance? You can, obviously it's social learning theory, but let's say I'm going to put the wrong one, which is behaviorism. And then what type of learning uses AI? That's obviously adaptive learning, but you can, let's say I choose the wrong answer, and you can go ahead and submit. And it shows me how many responses there were total. It shows me what is the correct response, how many folks are the responders responded correctly, which didn't. So it's a really nice add-on, and really nice advancement to our current extension to do trivia questions directly in LumApps. And there's a bunch of use cases you can think of as an employee. I don't know, Paul, I'm sure you have some use cases that you probably use as well in your line of work.
Oh yeah, that would be perfect for when I'm thinking company meetings, where there's always those emails that go out. What questions do you have for the leadership team, and then feedback, things like that, where it's like, what are the top questions? You have a choice of them, and also just in the L&D space, I was just thinking, surveys that are around presentations and things like that. The use cases are endless.
Misha Weber, you could be choosing easier questions and easier answers. All the wrong answers in that poll, were mine. So don't be afraid.
Well, I should have asked ChatGPT to give me some simpler questions.
Yeah,
with that in mind,
it's a great. You could just use it as a survey too, of like which of these 5 things are most important to you.
And it's native, so you can there's a whole series of we won't go too deep into it, but all the analytics data kind of stays with you directly. You can access directly through LumApps instead of going outside, so makes it much more convenient as well. With that in mind, Paul, I'll throw it over to you.
Great. I'm excited to be here. A little bit about me. I started my career in consulting, and my background is human resources, but also shared services, a little bit of finance. So I started off as a consultant for about 20 years and really helping a variety of companies. So then I eventually decided, hey, I better put what I've been teaching people for years into practice, and went into the real corporate world. And I focused on HR, shared services, employee engagement, culture, and most recently, had a great experience rolling out LumApps, and from our initial goals to where we ended up, and so I'm really excited to share that.
And tell me about this the quote. What inspires the Socrates up on screen?
Yeah, my freshman year in college, I think the only thing I remember from my freshman year was I took a philosophy course, and it was something very different than what I had ever done. And I learned a little bit about Socrates, and one of his quotes really just stuck with me. And to me, it means that it's that always looking internally of what you're doing and what you want to do. So evaluating where you are and where you want to be. So examining, just a self-examination. And as soon as I took that class, I wrote it down and pasted it on my computer, and I've had it on my desk for a long time now.
Which is obviously very relevant, especially running an employee experience for enterprise, to know exactly, to examine the needs and use cases of the business, and make them real, right? To bring value to them, and bring that vision to value. So,
yep, great. So when we started off, we wanted to bring content of value, but we thought, hey, if you build it, they will come. And up front, you do see that. People see, there's something new, something to play with, but it's not going to be the end all, and the newness will wear off. So you really need to have a plan. And what I wanted to do is give people, kind of tell them a little bit about our experience, but break it down into 3 areas that we found, and I found just in the work that I've done over years, to be the most successful and good way to start. So let's go to the next page, and we'll start with your back office. And I always think about the back office as being a great starting point for things, because it's not what employees do on a day-to-day basis. It's something that they need. And these departments usually are underfunded, and they spend and understaffed. So they spend so much of their time doing things they don't have a chance to look back and do things necessarily the right way or the easiest way, kind of that unexamined life. So what I've found is that if you help these departments out, give them some of the tools, that they can become a much more value-added participant in your portal. And you do this by starting to make the portal as your central hub for everything informational and transactional. And one of the examples I always think about it is, people say, go to Okta. Okta is where all your your Active Directory or what have you, that's where you start, and that's where your applications live. But that just gets people to a transaction engine. It really doesn't teach them enough about the process or give them the information that they need. So I like to think, go to your portal and get to the page, and you can launch from those pages. But there you give people the information they need to get started. And a couple of the areas that I found to be really willing participants and eager for this is like information security. They, in my past example, they always had a annual process where you have to train people and get your certifications that you've learned to not click on the bad links on emails. But giving them a place to be more engaging and have that backup information is really was really a value add for them. Like graphics and design. People always come to graphics and design and ask the questions. I need help with this. I need a logo for this. But they typically have so much information for them, but it's not presented in a way that's compelling or easy to absorb. So giving them a homepage with, hey, this is your starting point. Here's content we've already created. This is how you go about getting help from us, is really a big value add. And 2 other simple examples, facilities is one. People always ask, how do you do things? But creating a page with all of the typical questions and also all of your physical locations. In our case, what we did was we created a how do we work page, and that led to information on, how do you engage each other? How do we handle COVID? And how do you park? Where's your parking? And we created pages, sub-pages for every physical location. So it was a really great way for employees to start, especially when you went and visited different locations, because you always think, oh, do I need to get a new badge? Where do I park? Where's the hotels? Having that place where people just don't even have to think about it. It's presented in a process format for them right up front. Was a real value add.
And probably those people who became owners of those locations, the pages, they started to manage them themselves, right? And they started to oversee and update.
Absolutely. In our case, we started by just transferring everything over we had from Google Pages. And then we built a couple, because I was in HR, we built some pretty nice HR pages. And then really quickly, people thought, wow, that's a great starting point. And we learned internally, hey, we have to teach people a little bit, help them, give them the skills, and started by creating content for people, how to manage themselves, how do you use the widgets, and where's your starting point. And then 2, we helped them think through some of their pages. What are the questions? And one of the things I always tell people to start with is look at all of the questions you get in the emails you get for service. And how many of those are you just answering questions versus how many times are you doing something? If you're just answering a question or pointing people to something, that's got to be upfront on the portal, whether it's an FAQ or just a welcome, do this. That makes a world of difference. And I'll give an example as we go through from what we did when they rolled out our new travel and expense system. They went from having, I don't even know how many questions, to virtually eliminating all questions by putting the information up front in the portal. And they were one of our just giant fans as we went through it. And once we started showing this value and the stories got out, then the if you build it, they will come really did start to work.
And right now, there's a lot of talk about, hey, you know what? Now we have AI, we have search. People, do we really need a portal? Do we really need that kind of experience? People can just go in and find something and type something up, right? And then they'll pretty much have everything they need. Like, I don't think a lot of folks are making that argument, hey, we don't really need an experience that, brings things together. And I'm curious, with this that you put together, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's half of a story, and I'll give a really great example on the next page. But to answer it is, when you do search, you're going to get to a point of information, and it's like opening a book to a page or a chapter. You might, depending on what you're looking for, you might miss the other things that you need to know or the other information. And when I think of HR, people often, one of the biggest transactions that confuses people is like, if I want to give somebody a promotion, and if I just look up, okay, I need to move them to a new position, you're missing the point about compensation, giving raises, the communications, the security that you may need to change. And that really comes with the process thinking. So one of the things that we did, because we're working in a world where we had Glean and Chat OPE, we definitely put out a lot of great content and help text, but we also always gave links on those pages. Hey, if you have more questions, go to the portal where you can, learn more about it. So if they went to a user guide about changing somebody's position, but it'll say hey, if this is a promotion, click here, and then we take them back into the portal to give them the full story. So I think it's a great starting point, but it's not always the full story. And that's where kind of this next point really comes into play is creating a formal approach. Oh, back one slide. Yeah, there you go. Creating a formal approach for how you disseminate information, where you send people. And this really goes into, becoming integrated with your communications team and thinking through how you do change management. What's the best method for communicating to people? And is it over communicating, or is it just sending out a Slack notice or putting something on the portal or an email? And that was something we really had to think through. And, we in a Slack world, people tend to not check their emails enough. So, but you can't send a huge message. So we started moving to more just in time and short messages, where it's give a highlight and then a link and taking them into the portal where the full story is. And especially when that story might be like your annual open enrollment, here's your starting point, and then taking to a page where it's got the information on, how do you select your benefits. One of the things that we went through a year ago was an IPO. So we kept sending people to the IPO page, which became really critical because there were so many things that had to happen with stock options and grants and lockout periods. And we needed to have people go through, sign documents and review things, and then also have a hub for how do you handle your taxes. And that be the portal really became a big win for pulling that information together, and then having our way of, do we do it through Slack, email, or what have you, shorter announcements and more stable content on the portal.
And just a quick pause. We only have a few more minutes left, but if anybody has any questions, please put your comments into LinkedIn. They'll appear on the screen, and we'll try to do our best to address them. Sorry, Paul, coming back to you.
One other point I'll make on that page was just bring in, if you go to your recruiting departments, they have a lot of branding information that's not necessarily in communications, but it's really geared towards employees and using different language and the value proposition. Having that embedded into your language and pages really does make a difference. And I find that also this group is usually very eager to participate and get help from you, but also to help you with that type of stuff. All right, we can move on. The tying into what I said earlier, I like to think about eliminating questions and using a process mindset when you create content and you tell a story, because rarely are you just doing one activity or one step. You really want to think through the process and communicating. So ensuring that the information you present is really fit for its purpose. Are you using graphics, process flows, data, text, making it worthwhile for the employee? And then the other point is, I think iframes are an amazing tool, and they became my best friend as a way to use other tools and present information. And whether it was our IT department embedding parts of ServiceNow into it, so you go to the page and you can submit tickets or look through their help text that was in ServiceNow, or micro learning. And one of the tools we used was 7 Tabs, and that's it's really geared around just-in-time micro learning events that are just a few pages. And it was something that we were able to embed on pages. So instead of people reading something, it took them through a little learning journey, and it could be applied to anything. And like that tool itself, you can create a very compelling learning journey that's in about 10 minutes. So one of the big successes we had last year is we really rethought our year-end performance management process, and we rebuilt our communications process, and then also all of our pages that we had on the portal. So we took people through a step-by-step journey, and each page had 2 things. It had a microtabs, little learning set of information. So instead of reading, they could see in a graphical presentation their content. But the other thing we did was we used ChatGPT and branded our own version of it just for performance management. And we took what is a typically dry topic, and that also generally creates a lot of questions for HR, for compensation, for all of these other departments, and we made it fun and engaging. And we looped in our engineering team to use our own product to brand it just for this process. And we took all of the questions we got in from the previous years, as well as all of our training and development material, plopped it in there, and we're able to eliminate, well, I'm not going to say eliminate, but virtually eliminate questions that employees had. And also employees were able to get help writing their performance reviews, and same for managers writing performance reviews for employees. It was so successful that the head of engineering actually did a demo of it for our board of directors on the portal, showing that, we were able to use our own products, and it was an active use of AI that helped employees be more productive on the job. So it was something that was, really, really successful, and it was all done through the portal.
Wow.
And the other thing I'll say is our engineers loved the fact that we were using our engineering products in a way that where our employees got to see it, and they were the biggest users where they were not always the biggest users before.
Wow. That's when they can actually immerse into the product itself. That's when you can see that that's successful.
The other big success we had was with videos, like our travel and expense department. They usually would get a ton of questions. How do I do this? How do I do that? And when I worked with them, I said, you shouldn't be answering those questions. That should be up front. And when they did training, a lot of people don't attend training because, in the remote world, you don't necessarily have a lot of travel and expense, but you have it just in time. So we took their training videos, plopped it on their homepage right up front. So as soon as you were going to start to do a travel or something, right next to the link for booking a flight was a quick video on how do you do it. Here's your training. And they stopped answering questions. They would just say, hey, it's right on the portal. Go to our homepage. It'll be right there for you. And they became a huge advocate for it, and constantly pointing people it's on the portal.
Oh, this is really great. That's a really fascinating story. That's really what the kind of success story I think people want to hear, of how.
And all these things that we did, and we're using really out of the box functions and no code, using the just pages, graphics, and iframes with other tools, and it made really professional looking content that looked complex in a very simple, easy to use way.
That's also a very important point. It really shows the capability of all the tools, including LumApps. They can do a lot of things out of the box, and get the most bang for your buck if you know how to use it. And that's where
absolutely. And honestly, I would have loved to have had your tool that you just showed to put on the page, where we could have asked people questions about, was this useful? Did click this to get almost as a survey rather than just a question. And I think that would have been a huge value for us.
And hopefully will be for many more users. I appreciate you saying that, Paul, and thank you very much for being on ADC Live. Thank you for educating us how you were successful in running your employee experience, and how you were creative, use your creative energy and persistence, to bring all those people in. I'm sure there's a lot of challenges you're kind of giving us as the surface level.
Oh yeah.
As we all know too well, there's a lot deeper things behind it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Anytime. I hope you'll be able to come back. And
absolutely.
And I also hope that folks who are watching, seeing this, they'll give us more topics, and maybe we can have Paul back talk about something else from his experience, or maybe we can bring more topics in and talk about something future on our show. So
absolutely, feel free to reach out if anybody out there has any questions. Just shoot me a message on LinkedIn. Glad to help.
I really appreciate it. This really shows how really the LumApps, the experience play. It's not just a product. It's not just a tool. It's really where we try to enhance this for the sense of community, of camaraderie, and folks can come in and ask questions. To to users, the actual users of the product like Paul or ourselves or the platform like the Hive. And that's really what the product is about. It's an actual business functional tool that helps you with business operations, and not just a tool that sits there in the back office on the shelf and collects dust. It's meant to be live and used and really pushed to the limits with this out-of-the-box and extensibility functionalities. So Ivo, what's next? We have a few things coming up, and we have our next one is about data lake. It's another deep dive into data lake, and we'll talk a little bit about first LumApps' out-of-the-box analytics, and then we'll go in deeper into data lake, converting the data into knowledge assets, and you'll kind of walk us through in a more deeper way of what that connectivity looks like, and both from a structural, architectural perspective as well as some practical perspective. So anybody who's interested or has questions about data lake, would like us to cover specific topics on it, please let us know. Following that, we have the metadata mania. As we know, LumApps has something called metadata, and it's could be very complicated, but we're here to make things very simple. We're going to show you the whys, the hows, the do's, the don'ts, the 5 or 6 ways and 7 ways you can use metadata, what's the best practice of using it, how it can be extended out to other systems, to structure data, right? So we'll talk about that. We can even go deeper into it in our sessions. And we really want to hear from you. Tell us what you think. What would you like to hear more about? And that's where we hope you come into the Hive ADC space and vote. Tell us your favorite topic, and we'll do our best to make it work. So thank you guys very much. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Ivo. And thank you to everybody who was with us today. And we will see you next time.